Hi guys, and welcome to the studio. I thought I would do a what's on my desk at the moment. I'm working on many things at the moment, but the main thing is working with paper clay. So I make my own, and it's actually really quite the recipe that I've got now. The things that I make come out really solid. It's just like, wow, it's amazing. It's very similar to clay, and in terms of weight as well, it's got a heavy density to it, which makes it really nice and solid. So it's not like just a, like you'd make something with paper mache and it's very kind of flimsy. Anyway, so let me we'll get to showing you what's on my desk. And it does need tidying up, but I'm not making excuses. It's just how it is at the moment. This is how I work sometimes, and especially if so many different ideas are going through my mind that I really want to just at least get started. Okay, so let's get started, and I'll show you some of the things I've got going on. Okay, so I'll where do I start? It's like, do you really work in this? Okay, so what's happened this week so far is that I have been making moulds. So I made a couple of moulds. I had some, I can't remember what the thing's called, Sculpty. It's this two-part mix where you mix, it's the white part and the blue part together, and then you have to use it sort of like within, say, a minute of making, otherwise they'll go hard. So I made a heart mould, and this was from something I brought, actually. I'll show you. So I brought this, and I thought, it's like you've just got the one. And the clay that they make it out of, when you paint it, it actually peels off. It's very kind of porous, if that's the right word. So I thought, well, the paper clay I make, you scratch it and nothing will come out. So I'm going to make some more, but from different materials, and that will then lead on to, so I've not only been using paper clay, I've been using, this is like a silver clay, and I was just experimenting. I've just got a small pack, and I thought, well, I need to know how to manipulate it, how it dries, and how, if I apply paint to it, if I want to apply paint to it, or because it's silver, I mean, this, in terms of the silverness, I mean, it's got a shimmer, but not what I would expect. So I made these and a few little balls, and the other thing I made from moulds. Where are they? Did I put them? I made some resin moulds. Let's see if I can. Oh, there's just little. So I've got a mould which has got kind of little buttons, and so I made these as well, just from resin. So just experimenting and playing, and this is something that you need to do with your supplies. And so yeah, I guess this series will be about things that I've been experimenting with. So I took the resin and and I made, put these in the moulds, and then I put, in some of them, well no, in all of them, I put alcohol inks. Now the alcohol inks give them a, obviously it colours them, it settles, it doesn't, the back is nicer than the front, I think, like that shimmer, not the shimmer, but the kind of the glass-like effect. So on the front of it, which is what you're going to use, you don't get that. So I really wanted that look. on the front. So you may be able to get that if you use the sorry, this is the glaze that I poured. Is it the glaze or the resin? Come on, girl. It's the glaze. Yeah. So the resin now, you should get a better result. And that depends on the, I guess what it depends on is the material that you pour it on. For the alcohol inks to give you an effect, and then to capture that with the resin on top. So these are going to go for some cards that I'm making. What else can you see? So that's that. You can see my gesso pot. I haven't been using the gesso, so that just needs to go back to where it is. As I say, I've been heavily working with the clay. So I've been looking at some of the other moulds that I made, and for one, trying to remember what I did. So the heart that I showed you, this is made out of the same clay. And what I did to try and get around, you know, if you scratched it or if it got knocked or anything, that it would, the paint would come out, is I covered it with tissue paper. So these are faces that I do some of my cards with and some of my clay figures with. And this is just a collection of, you know, when I'm sitting there, I'll make little moulds, little some things from the moulds, and then, you know, paint them and see how they are, and then these can be used on other things that, you know, you want to create a sculpture or something like that. So they're like just in here for now. I made a mould of a butterfly from latex, and it wasn't deep enough, so it didn't really come out as nice as I wanted to, because you don't see any detail on there. Yeah, so that's what this container is. What else have I been doing that you can see? I made these quite a while ago, and it's all made from recycled material. So this is cardboard, and it's covered with paper clay and a heart. I think that's probably got no, I just used shredded paper, used like the paper clay and mushed it together. And now I was going to make, out of these I was going to make some mini cakes, but it didn't turn out how I wanted it to be. And so I just left them, they were just sitting there. And I decided that I would make just like an abstract sculpture. And so for the time being I've stuck these together, and I've got the paper clay, so I've got my glue gun here, and then I've got my paper clay, and this particular batch that I've made, I'm really pleased with it. It's made with recycled paper. It's also made with the Tetra Pak milk cartons. I shredded them, soaked them, and then mixed it up into the mixture. And whilst this, I can't roll out a slab from this because it's quite soft, it spreads really nicely over surfaces. And once it's dry, because you've got all those fibres, the paper fibres, they're not going to lift up. They kind of like, once you spread it and, you know, do several layers, I mean, you can flatten it out slightly, but it's still quite soft. So you can flatten it out and use kind of sections of it. But the paper fibres are kind of intertwined like that, and so when they set, it's very difficult to break. Now I found this not only with paper, because I was really kind of just looking for ways in which I could recycle the Tetra Pak, because we go through so much milk each week, and there's always an abundance of cartons, and I have been storing them up to kind of bring the recycling place. I just didn't get around to it, and I just thought, well, you know, I've got them, they're clean, let me see if I can utilise them in the meantime. And that's what I've been doing. So that's what I did with this particular batch. Now the only thing with the Tetra Pak is that it's got foil in it on the inside, and the foil obviously doesn't decompose. And so you have to, and so when you shred it, you've got all these tiny bits of these foil. But I've utilised it in here, and I thought to myself, you know, it will make the, whilst I'm not 100% keen on it, because dependent on whether you want a really smooth surface, you're not going to get that, because you'll always get bits of foil, and I'm not sure how well they'll sand down, if at all. So, sorry about that. So, the next batch, I'm not going to use the Tetra Pak, or what I'll do is I will separate it, because you can try and separate the layers, and you can get the paper from it, and then use the foil for another recycle project. You could do like a weaving project or whatever it is, you know. They use it in building, you know, kind of. I can use it in kind of creating things that are best kept indoors as opposed to outdoors. They use it to line the insides of, you know, some, if you look online, they've got them on the inside of the roof because it has insulation. So, or if I had the process where I could crush it and melt it and create some bricks that I could utilise elsewhere. We'll see anyway, we'll see what we could do with it. But as I say, you know, you can get it, you know, kind of fairly flat. And that's using the, you have to use the cling film, and you'll get a smooth surface because it doesn't really roll very well. And then, so that was that. And I had made, these were 2, 3, 4, 5 separate things that I'm making into a abstract sculpture. So on the inside you can see these are brown, and this is made from cardboard. So I've used the same principle with shredding the cardboard and creating almost like a paper clay, but it's like a cardboard clay, and it's solid. Once it dries, it's solid. And I tried to make a mould from this, from one of the milk cartons, but when it dried and pressed in, and then I just left it. And I made this bowl as well, from the paper clay using a mould. Now the inside, sorry, the cardboard clay, so the inside is actually quite nice and smooth, but you can probably smooth it down even more with a sander, so I'm going to do that. And so all I've applied on top is the newest batch of paper clay that I've made, and you might be able to see where the blue specks are. That's the plastic in the Tetra Pak. See, I've just added this yesterday, so you can see the just there you can see the, you know, that doesn't decompose or break down. And then on the side of the bowl you might be able to see some of the foil. Some of the foil is showing, and that again I'll have to see if that can sand down or whether it'll just have to be a feature in this piece. But it's actually really quite weighty. So we've got the bowl, I've got a base that I created from the paper clay, and the base kind of just looks like this. I made these a while back, and these were just like solid. I put it in a lid of one of these lids, and they make some really nice, well, I was using them as stands for my figures, but now my figures are going to be hung, so I'd made quite a few of these, and so they're going to be incorporated in a, I just found just the thing. Okay, I was looking for a stand for this, and so here we are. Look at that. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so I've covered this in the newest batch, and I'm going to be sanding it down to create a nice smooth finish. And then I was thinking whether to leave this effect, but I think I'm going to add it to the inside as well. I just like that, to have a smooth finish on the inside. So you're seeing a piece of art in its pre-finished stage. Okay, so that's that. What else have we got here? I've just got some figures that I make, and these are recycled bottles, and then once you cover them, this is covered in that fabric. Fabric. It's like the thing that they use for plaster cast, and that's all it's covered with, and it's quite solid. I mean, this would probably need a layer of paper clay to kind of make it so that if you pressed it really hard. So these are going to be incorporated in a piece of art. Okay, I've showed you this. I usually have my notebook, got my notebook here. I write my blog posts and things, and just notes that things that I need to do. There's loads of things I need to do in here, but we're not going to go through that. And I've got my ideas and sketchbook here. Show you. I started doing some sketches. Let me show you. So I use this to think about ideas as well as just kind of sketches. Now this might be incorporated in a piece of art I do, I'm not necessarily sure yet, but I also things that I want to work on. So this is things that I want to work on, as well as journaling. So I've got some journaling. I started doing some journaling in it. So just like little bits. I did some sketches, did some ideas. I was listening to a podcast, a video on an artist called Kerry James Marshall, and he was talking about a couple of other artists that I wanted to check out. So I just put it in there, and then some more ideas and some more journaling. And I just thought to myself, I normally have my journaling in a separate book. And this is not going to be something that I want everybody to see, but it's me working on ideas, and me if I've got something that I wanted to write, why then go to another book and hunt for this other book and then write it in there, because the image sometimes it informs the image that I'm sketching. Sometimes informs the sketch that I've done, or the writing, and so yeah. So just some ideas and some. That's how I've been using it. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about the soul and your soul purpose, and growing and expanding, and that's it. So that's what, it's ideas, book art and other things, so it's up to me how I do that. The other thing I've got on my desk at the moment is these, and these are, I went to the supermarket and I often pick up the cardboard, like they have, it's like some places it's called Costco, it's called Price Smart, but all the things are stacked, and you know, it's got all the, you've got the boxes that they come in, and you've got, these were just separating the boxes, the tins from each other, but they were just kind of sitting like somebody was going to come and clear them. So I often pick them up, and I looked at this and I thought, you know, this folded would make like an interesting journal. And where the tins have been sitting, 24 tins, you've got the indentation on the cardboard, and I just thought, if you painted that black, and then if you painted it a particular colour and then highlighted it, it looks like it's been stenciled or embossed. So I picked up, there was 4 that I saw, and you know, you can just, it's a free resource from your local or from your supermarket. I mean, the supermarkets don't leave the packaging out, but these stores, they have, you know, they have somebody come in and clear in as the things get used, or you can take the boxes, and I've done that several times and utilised the boxes for other things in the studio, for, you know, storage, for packaging as well, if you're sending stuff. It's a good way to be able to, you know, protect, and it's not cost anything, and you can customise these if you were going to use this for packaging, you know, artwork, wrapping, you know, as a layer. I like have, you know, different size things, so having these thicker pieces to put in, say, a crate or a box helps. What else have I got that I can lay my hands on? Trusty fold, my gloves. I use the gloves when working with the paper clay, and this is all the remnants that I would normally brush. I've got several packets of these that I brought, and they're not being used for the purpose that I brought them at the moment. I use them to dust or just slightly sweep. Some people might be thinking, oh my gosh, but I've got several packets of these, so I sacrificed this one brush. It doesn't get wet with any of the glue, it just dusts up like this, especially when I'm working with the paper clay. Or what I do is, if I've got like shall I show you this one? Yeah, if I've got like a figure and it's been sitting there for a while, sometimes when you brush it, because the studio can be really dusty, and it just gives it, look at that already, it just buffs it up a bit. I haven't yet finished this particular piece. She's and she's been with me for a while, and I think she really does want to find a home, but there's just a few more bits that I want to add to her. But I'm liking how she's looking at the moment. Let's stick that down. Yeah, so that's just a figure that I've got sitting there, and she might actually stay with me, because her message on her journal is saying live with passion. But we'll see, because she might want to give somebody else some encouragement. And I guess the last thing I'll show you, the other things I'll show you is how you can utilise household things in your creativity. So as I showed you, this is made from a tea box, and I've covered it paper mache. This is going to be so it's just the paper, and this was just like it's like modelling paste that I'd spread over the top, thinking this was before I knew about making my own paper clay. So it didn't get as solid as I'd wanted to, and so it was just like, it just got thrown on the, I'm keeping this, but I know something, you know, an idea is going to come, and so now I've got the paper clay, I can cover these. So it's the cling film. So I've got this cling film. We don't use it in the house. We had it, and we stopped using it to, you know, cover food because of the dangers. But as I say, with the paper clay, when I'm making the, to give me a flat surface, I use the cling film and when I flatten out one side, I mean, you'll get the shape, you know, the folds of the cling film, but it gives you a really nice flat surface. So that's one of the things, or two of the things. You've got the tea boxes, and then they can also, just trying to think what these were, I think these were matchboxes, and you've got quite a few layers of clay now, so you use it as an armature, and it forms the basis of a particular art piece. You know, once you finish, there's going to be so many layers, and it's going to weigh. I mean, this already weighs, I would say, maybe £5, a bag of sugar, maybe. But ooh, my glue gun is sitting dangerously. Just burnt myself. And the thing I find with the glue gun, the mistake I made. I've had this glue gun for a while, and I'm sure I'm due for an upgrade, because it's lost the protective. I shouldn't have it just laying down here anyway. Anyway, the mistake I made with the glue gun was leaving, not only leaving it on, but when I got some glue on me, is I left the glue thinking, oh, if I leave it and not peel it off immediately, I'll be better off. But it burnt through. Anyway, so the next thing I want to show you is these. You know, I get these at they're just face wipes, but they're made, I don't know, it's just made from cotton. It doesn't actually say. But they're not disposable. But what I found out recently is that once they're dry, so these are all dry, so I can't even use them for that purpose, and I thought, let me use it in the studio. But when you pull them apart, as the fibres separate, you get this really nice kind of effect that you're not even creating, but it's like little, you know, holes as you pull it apart. But this makes a nice addition either to a background to kind of create texture, or if you're like, we'll take this one. I'm not particularly going to use it for this one, but if you wanted to create, like, if I wanted to create the effect of like a scarf, say, ooh, I like that. See, it makes it look like it's made for that purpose, and so you could create a scarf for figures that you're doing, or clothes, or, you know, I'm not sure how well this would stitch, but you get the idea. You can use it in small pieces, you can break it up, and as I say, use it in your journal, and use it for texture, or you can use it on figures. And that's it. I think that's it for now. That's all I'm going to show you. Yeah, I think I've shown you quite a bit. Hand sanitizer. I always have some cream on my desk. I use a hand sanitizer, depending on what I'm working with, when the dog comes around. And my cream, which is nearly practically finished. I'm going to have to cut it. You know the thing that about creams? So you use the cream, and look, as far as you're concerned, this is empty. I'll actually cut it now. There's nothing coming out. So do not throw it away. I hope I haven't managed to, because when you cut it in half, there's still, not so much in here, but there's still, okay, you saw what I got out before. Look, there's still quite a bit of cream that you can use, and before you throw it away. And then obviously, you know, use these. You can use these as a. I normally just then put one in another, so to keep it. But I'll use this in the next few days. You know, you can utilise these in your artwork in some way. I'm sure I can show you a way in which you can utilise them, or I would use them as label tags in the garden. So I'd cut them into small strips and then just you know, get a marker and then attach it to some metal and put it in the ground, or attach it to a piece of wood, a dowel, just attach it to one of these. It's a bamboo stick, and then put it in the ground, and then I've got a label. Okay, so I hope some of the behind the scenes has been useful, and thank you for joining me in the studio. It's been great having you here. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.